If you have played MGS2, you know the catalyst for the game's climax is Raiden discovering that he was being controlled by sentient AIs, carrying out their mission exactly as instructed. 24 years after release, it continues to unfortunately predict the world we live in. The first we learn about these AI and their plans is when we save Emma and she reveals what she believes.
The president said that arsenal gear was the Patriots' key to supremacy.
That's as good a description as any.
What exactly is it?
It's a massive data processing system capable of controlling information on a global scale.
A data processing system?
That's right. The system's a social device for maintaining the Patriots' control.
You've lost me.
Well, in this day and age, information emerges from every direction and is freely distributed. A variety of information gathered by servers employing the latest in high-speed communication networks and P2P technology is rapidly circulated to individuals. In fact, the speed of this circulation process is accelerating on an almost daily basis. The Patriots seem to be afraid of this development. Apparently, they believe that their role will shift from dominant to dominated.
Huh?
Now, look at it like this. Political scandal, corporate corruption, up until now, the Patriots have managed to keep a lid on these and other self-serving events. But with their existing data processing system, they're no longer able to effectively control the flow of information generated at the individual level. With the newly created system, they can fully regulate digital information. High-level information can be categorized in stages, given clearance levels, and deleted as necessary, never to be seen by the public. By deleting such information, the Patriots can shape the course of history as they see fit.
Somebody's bound to catch on.
No, the memory capacity, not to mention the lifespan of the average individual, is extremely limited. GW is a system that allows the Patriots to decide what will be recorded in tomorrow's history.
So what we're talking about is one huge censorship system for deleting information which might be inconvenient to the Patriots.
Exactly. The actual physical core for handling the task, GW, is installed in Arsenal.
From what Emma tells us, the Patriots are a self-serving organization on a path to censorship so they can retain power. The cutscene alluded to at the start of the video is where we learn about the true reason for the Patriots' desire to control information.
Cut the crap! If you're immortal, why would you take away individual freedoms and censor the net?
Jack, don't be silly.
Don't you know that our plans have your interests, not ours, in mind?
What?
Jack, listen carefully, like a good boy. Genes don't contain any record of human history.
Is it something that should not be passed on? Should that information be left at the mercy of nature?
We've always kept records of our lives, through words, pictures, symbols, from tablets to books.
But not all the information was inherited by later generations. A small percentage of the whole was selected and processed, then passed on. Not unlike genes, really.
That's what history is, Jack.
But in the current digitized world, trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness, never fading, always accessible.
Rumors about petty issues, misinterpretations, slander.
All this junk data, preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate.
It will only slow down social progress, reduce the rate of evolution.
Junk information is clearly a critique on the internet age and what would become of social media. How do we even begin extracting important information from even a recent year like 2017 when there is so much junk?
Right. You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
Create context?
The digital society furthers human flaws and selectively rewards development of convenient half-truths.
Everyone withdraws into their own small gated community, afraid of a larger forum. They stay inside their little ponds, leaking whatever truth suits them into the growing cesspool of society at large.
The different cardinal truths neither clash nor mesh. No one is invalidated, but nobody is right.
Not even natural selection can take place here. The world is being engulfed in truth.
And this is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper.
We're trying to stop that from happening.
It's our responsibility as rulers. Just as in genetics, unnecessary information and memory must be filtered out to stimulate the evolution of the species.
And you think you're qualified to decide what's necessary and not?
Absolutely. Who else could wade through the sea of garbage you people produce, retrieve valuable truths, and even interpret their meaning for later generations?
That's what it means to create context.
I'll decide for myself what to believe and what to pass on.
But is that even your own idea?
Or something Snake told you.
That's the proof of your incompetence right there. You lack the qualifications to exercise free will.
That's not true. I have the right.
Will someone like that be able to decide what is truth?
Should someone like you even have the right to decide?
You've done nothing but abuse your freedom.
You don't deserve to be free.
We're not the ones smothering the world. You are.
The individual is supposed to be weak, but far from powerless. A single person has the potential to ruin the world.
And the age of digitized communication has given even more power to the individual. Too much power for an immature species.
So the AIs believe they are helping the human race by creating context for information. They explore ideas about echo chambers and a post-truth world. In the real world, half-truths are now pushed by some of the most powerful individuals and regurgitated through the masses constantly. I will attempt to help the AI's mission and create context to a few examples, but like MGS2 predicted, there is a constant slew of endless information.
They're eating the dogs.
There were two originators for this truth. One was a man who had legitimate grievances with Haitian migrants, mainly to do with traffic violations and dangerous driving, but he also brought up a claim that they go into parks and eat ducks.
They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them like...
The second, possibly bigger igniter was a woman in Springfield claiming that her neighbor's daughter's friend had lost her cat, and on her way home one day saw the Haitians next door having a cat strung up. The story blows up on everyone's favorite state-run media organization, Zitter.
Going to my orientation for my job today, and I see a group of Haitian people. There was about 4 of them. They all had geese in their hand.
We've lost a whole bunch of cats. There was a van pulled over that had over 100 cats in it with the Haitians. They said they was eating them.
Actually?
Yeah.
Not fake news.
Not fake news.
So a van was collecting cats and eating them.
I watched it happen, yeah. Watched them get pulled over with the cats and admit to the police that they was eating them.
You're not joshing with me.
No, I'm almost 50 years old, buddy. No.
You don't mess around.
This man you see with a goose in his hand has no proof of being Haitian, is not in Springfield, and was reportedly getting roadkill off of the road. Another unfortunate event happened when an Ohio woman going through a mental episode killed and ate a cat.
What did you do? Why'd you kill the cat? Smile for me. Smile with your teeth. Go like this. Did you eat that cat?
Of course, this black woman born and raised in America was labeled a Haitian. Trump goes on to the one and only debate against Kamala, where he famously says this.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
Here's what Vice President J.D. Vance had to say about it.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast.
You just said that this is a story that you created.
Small note, these immigrants were in the U.S. legally, but like conservatives say, it was under Joe Biden who granted Haitians living in America temporary protected status since Haiti got taken over by gangs. These truths led to bomb threats. It impacted real people in the real world. After the southeast of the United States was struck by a catastrophic hurricane, conservatives quickly came up with something new they could blame on Democrats. Their target was FEMA, the Federal Emergency Response Agency.
Because there's nobody that's handled a hurricane or storm worse than what they're doing right now. Kamala spent all her FEMA money, billions of dollars, on housing for illegal migrants, many of whom should not be in our country, including $1 billion for gift cards for illegal aliens and putting them up in luxury hotels with a gift card to welcome them to America as our veterans are sleeping on the sidewalks below those hotels and they're being walked into luxury hotels. Now we have a horrific disaster in North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, and Virginia. That's how big this hurricane was. And the Harris-Biden administration says they don't have any money. They've spent it all on, they spent all of their money. They have almost no money because they spent it all on illegal migrants. How would you like to be a veteran and you've been sleeping opposite the entrance to a luxury hotel and illegal migrants come in and they're going up and occupying the hotel? That's what's happening. They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season. You know, they're trying to get them on the voters' roll. We cannot let that happen. This is the worst response in the history of hurricanes. Vote for Trump, and we will take care of the American people first. We'll take care of everything.
He is talking about a program that would help states house migrants so there aren't a bunch of homeless refugees on the street. $650 million were appropriated to FEMA to carry this out, and this was separate from the disaster relief pot, which held $35 billion for 2024. But don't let our truth get in the way of yours.
It's been a terrible response from the White House. They're missing $1 billion that was used for another purpose, and nobody's seen anything like that. No, from that standpoint, it's been terrible. And you know, Kamala should be here. She shouldn't be anywhere else. And they're missing $1 billion that they gave to migrants coming into our country. Some of them are murderers, some of them are drug dealers, some of them, many of them. 13,099 murderers came into our country during their 3.5, and we're missing $1 billion they gave them to the migrants that came in. And now we don't have the money. We'll do it. But they don't have the money to take care of. That's why they're giving you lousy treatment in North Carolina in particular. And we don't like that, so we're going to let it be known. And they have to get a lot better because people are not happy. A lot of the money that was supposed to go to Georgia and supposed to go to North Carolina and all of the others is going and has gone already. It's been gone for people that came into the country illegally, and nobody's ever seen anything like that. That's a shame. People. Kamala wined and dined in San Francisco, and all of the people in North Carolina, no helicopters, no rescue. It's just what's happened there is very bad. They're offering them $750 to people whose homes have been washed away. And yet we send tens of billions of dollars to foreign countries that most people have never heard of. They're offering them $750. They've been destroyed. These people have been destroyed.
President Trump, an armed gunman was arrested, charged with making threats against FEMA workers 2 Saturdays ago. FEMA had a safety stand down because of continued credible threats. Is it helping the recovery effort in North Carolina to keep making these claims that FEMA's not doing their job?
Well, I think you have to let people know how they're doing. If they were doing a great job, I think we should say that too, because I think they should be rewarded. But if they're not doing, does that mean that if they're doing a poor job, we're supposed to not say it? These people are entitled to say it.
He's repeatedly said how bad these states have been treated. State officials in affected areas must be furious. Let's see what they are saying about the response.
As of today, what has been the ongoing kind of federal assistance for South Carolina?
It's been superb. I finally was able to speak to the president yesterday afternoon after he missed me and I missed him, leaving. He left a voicemail, I left a voicemail. So we finally connected yesterday afternoon. He said that whatever we need to let him know, and we're doing that. Also, Secretary Buttigieg called yesterday and said the same thing, and also Deanie Creswell for FEMA has also called. So, and a number of the governors have called. So we're getting assistance, and we're asking for everything we need.
I just spoke. The president just called me yesterday afternoon. I missed him and called him right back, and he just said, "Hey, what do you need?" And I told him, you know, we got what we need. We'll work through the federal process. He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that. But we've had FEMA embedded with us since, you know, a day or two before the storm hit in our state operations center in Atlanta. We got a great relationship with them. We've been in touch with our congressional delegation.
And it's important to note, too, that response was quick from the federal government, that allowed for that reimbursement. What's most important about this is that we can allow, it's primarily tapped and tagged to funding. And as Patrick said, those reimbursements are already available to be made. A fast turnaround, frankly.
I'm incredibly appreciative of the rapid response and the cooperation from the federal team at FEMA. I've been on the phone over the weekends with the senior FEMA administrator. The team has been deployed. We had our declaration of emergency processed in an expedited way over the weekend and was finalized yesterday.
I want to thank Administrator Criswell from FEMA for being on the ground, being supportive, and being very responsive. I think one of the things that you're seeing in this response, we are cutting through the bureaucracy. We are cutting through the red tape.
Are rescuing people. They've rescued more than 1,400 people so far, and they are deploying food and water and other supplies, many thousands of pounds. We're grateful for the quick actions and close communications that we have had with the President and with the FEMA team. Mr. Secretary, we're grateful to you and the President for sending Administrator Criswell, who has been on the ground with me in Western North Carolina as we are working to coordinate this massive, massive surge of help to Western North Carolina. And Mr. President, we know that we have made a lot of asks of you, and we're grateful for your ear and for your actions.
It is unacceptable for FEMA to withhold life-saving assistance based solely on one's political beliefs. Hurricane severely impacted Pinellas County and lives were tragically lost. This situation is far from over. We will get to the bottom of it and demand full accountability. And of course, Congressman Byron Donalds also chimed in, writing, "Anyone involved should be fired immediately. We are one nation, we are one people, we have one shared destiny. Your politics should never determine whether you receive disaster relief." I think that is totally uncontroversial, and I'm glad that the FEMA director condemned this and took action.
Not giving aid for political reasons is bad, as we all know. Trump lied about FEMA not giving money to Republican states, but that's not all. He did exactly what he claims Biden did and withheld aid from a Democrat state in 2019.
And the Trump administration has denied California's request for wildfire disaster relief. The state asked for a major presidential disaster declaration last month for several of the fires burning through central and southern California. That includes the Creek Fire. It would have helped to pay for damage in this historic fire season. Governor Newsom says fires have cost California $229 million just this year. The state now plans to appeal the rejection for financial aid.
That was last term, though. Maybe he has changed his stance.
Really, President Trump has criticized California's response to the wildfires and has appeared to put conditions on approving federal aid for the state. Can you explain that?
Hey there, Lindsay. Those conditions appear to be political in nature. President Trump promising to assist the state of California in recovering from these wildfires, but if they do so and adhere to specific requirements. Now,
in late 2024, strange lights started appearing above New Jersey. Let's not overreact.
And back in 1974, Werner von Braun said to her, what we're going to do, we're going to hoax an alien threat to consolidate sort of a totalitarian power around the world because it'll be so frightening to people. They will give up their freedoms and they will, et cetera, and so on.
Of course, if you are conservative in 2024, you are also a conspiracy theorist.
In focus now, Republican Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, member of the House Judiciary Committee on the Hill right now. How do you address this at this point?
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. You know, I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Now, we know there was a probability it could have been our own government. We know it's not our own government because they would have let us know. It could have been some really glorified hobbyist or hobbyists that were doing something unbelievable. They don't have the technology. But let's pretend that's possible. The third possibility was somebody, an adversarial country, doing this. Know that Iran made a deal with China to purchase drones, motherships, and technology in order to go forward. The sources I have are good. They can't reveal who they are because they are speaking to me in confidentiality. These drones should be shot down. Whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine, or whether it is Iran, and I think it very possibly could be, they should be shot down. We are not getting the full deal, and the military is on alert with this.
Look, you've given us some pretty dire information just here, and I want to make sure that our viewers are digesting this.
Joe actually has a reasonable take.
Yeah, like over the last few days, there's been this steady stream. They're not UFOs, they're drones.
Oh, I did see something. I think you posted something about the drones or something, right?
I don't think I did.
Somebody did.
But a lot of people have been. But they're not moving in any extraordinary way. They look like drones. they do. It just looks like a bunch of assholes thinks it's fun to put drones up everywhere. But now there's all this like weird mythology attached to it where like the governor was saying sometimes as soon as we put eyes on them, they take off. And
which he backflips on days later.
He knows his state of the art when it comes to drones.
Yes.
And that some of these ones in New Jersey, they're doing things that you can't really do yet.
Yes.
Yeah, which is really fascinating. Because it's like, okay.
And they're the size of SUVs.
Right. So is it ours? And we somehow or another have some stuff that the mainstream drone manufacturers at the highest level aren't aware of yet? Is it ours? Is it like some crazy military stuff? Because if it's not, and it's coming from the ocean, like, what do you mean it's coming? What the fuck do you...
50 of them.
What do you mean? What do you mean 50 suburban-sized
So check this out.
UFOs are coming out of the ocean? If we're in a world where it's 2024 and there's drones flying over New Jersey and they're gaslighting us, saying they're all airplanes. They're saying we have it under control.
Yeah.
And then it appears there was a satellite that was shot out of the sky.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No.
No, you haven't seen that?
I missed it
So
somehow.
this is the big conspiracy. And again, I have done no research, so do not believe me, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay,
But
Alf.
The big conspiracy is that these are Chinese drones. And they're being piloted by a satellite that they shot out of orbit. And this is a conspiracy, unfounded conspiracy.
Unfounded.
But I'm just for funsies.
Trump goes out and professionally, with grace, dispels any concerns the American people may have.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey, the ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people. And they should, because the people are really... I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you
Want to
shoot
know
them
the
down?
truth?
Wow.
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Of course, he adds fuel. If you don't believe that Trump added to the hysteria, listen to Joe.
These restrictions come just days after the FBI released a joint government statement saying most of the reported drone sightings were just airplanes, manned drones, and stars in the sky.
Shut the fuck up.
Trying to get answers on
Listen, Donald Trump is not giving press conferences about airplanes and stars in the sky.
Right.
Do you don't think that he knows something more than that?
I was going to ask, do you think he knows?
He's not staying at his golf course. He wouldn't go to his golf course because they were hovering over the golf course. There's a real problem. This gaslighting is not helping anybody.
Now that the king is back, let's see what his administration found out about the drones.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, The drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news.
Trump's new government is determined to find fraud, waste, and abuse, and they have found some. USAID was sending condoms to Gaza.
Just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
Big bureaucracy where there has been tremendous waste and fraud and abuse. In that process, we identified and stopped $50 million being sent to Gaza to buy condoms for Hamas, 50 million. And you know what's happened to them? They've used them as a method of making bombs. How about that?
There was one problem with what they were claiming. The condoms were not sent to Gaza and Palestine, but were sent to a province in Mozambique by the same name, where AIDS and other STDs are prevalent.
Serious money.
Mr. Musk, you said on X that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after fact-check this, apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas, actually. It was sent to Mozambique, which makes sense why condoms was sent there.
Yeah.
And how can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you're saying?
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about. And that is really an enormous number of condoms, if you think about it. But if it went to Mozambique instead of Gaza, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, but still, why are we doing that?
Can you talk?
So USAID should not be used to stop the spread of HIV in Africa. What should it be used for?
USAID has been one of your main targets. Are you concerned at all that some of the cuts or that shutting that agency altogether may lead to diseases or other bigger problems starting in other countries that then come to the United States?
Yeah, so that's an interesting example. So that's something where we work closely with the State Department and Secretary Rubio. And we have, for example, turned on funding for Ebola prevention and for HIV prevention.
Left that, you said?
Yes, correct.
It has taken 25 minutes to provide context to only 4 claims. But it takes only a second to spread any of them, and by the time you have provided context, they've moved on to the next thing. It's not like they would believe any of it anyway. They will continue to believe whatever half-truth they feel like.
It was just never accepted by people broadly. I think people just felt like the fact checkers were too biased.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily even so much in what they ruled, although sometimes I think people would disagree with that. A lot of the time, it was just what types of things they chose to even go and fact check in the first place. So,
all right, Dana. They weren't supposed to fact check the candidates. They had agreed that they weren't going to do it.
In a biased fact check of Trump, Muir claimed crime is down using discredited data from the FBI. Wow, David's so gullible, he probably still believes those photos I took of him really were for a charity calendar.
There are...
What's that, Jamie?
I was reading an article about the spending on the Chargers. They said that they haven't actually, according to this, they haven't actually spent all that money yet.
Well, what do they do with it?
They've spent some of it to make some of those things, but it hasn't been allocated yet. It's a long article going through all the spending that's been done. It's on factcheck.org.
Factcheck.org. Who runs that?
I don't know. Some of the chargers have been made. Some of them are on the way to be made, and they've built 61 at 15 stations since mid-August or through mid-August. 14,900 more are currently in some stage of development. But that's where it goes into like where they are, what they have to be done, and who's getting the money from them. It has to be done through a long process from each state.
Yeah, the question is, how can we get a proper accounting? As you point out, who the hell is factcheck.org?
Well, that's the problem with fact-checking organizations. That should really be illegal. Like, I think if you're a fact-checking organization, we should have stringent rules on what influence is being peddled, like who's paying for these fact checkers, who's behind the scenes, what is the it should be very transparent. How did you determine whether or not this was true or false?
Digital society furthers human flaws and selectively rewards development of convenient half-truths.
They stay inside their little ponds, leaking whatever truth suits them into the growing cesspool of society at large.
Too much power for an immature species. This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper.